Hi guys, today we're talking about my dividend portfolio and the stocks that I hold. Now, this is by no means to tell you you should hold these stocks. I've individually researched each one of these companies and picked it based on the merits that fit with my investing style. Now, we had talked a little bit about dividend investing. When you're investing for dividends, you know that you're going to get quarterly and in some cases monthly payments for holding on to the stock of that company. Now, a lot of the companies that pay dividends are established companies. They're big companies. In a lot of cases, they're boring companies. Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson. So, let's talk about the ones that I hold. Now, as I said, this does not say this is the stocks you should go and buy. I would never tell you that. You have to do your homework. You have to individually look at each stock that you're thinking of buying, decide whether it's something that you want to buy and hold. Remember, we buy and hold these stocks. We don't buy and sell them. We buy them and hold them for years, and in some cases forever. So let's talk about the stocks on my list. The first two we're going to talk about are pharmaceutical companies. AbbVie. AbbVie is a company that makes Humira. Humira is one of the biggest selling drugs in the United States. It's used for people with rheumatoid arthritis. It's an anti-inflammatory drug that helps with joint problems. Has several different uses. Very big company. Currently, that stock is down, but it says I have 17 shares of it currently, and it pays a dividend yield currently of 6.49%. Now, remember, as the stock price goes down, the percentage goes up because they have a set number that they do, so it's going to fluctuate a little bit. Now, I realize that sounds kind of high, and it is. It's actually artificially inflated a little bit because of the fact that the stock price has been down for a bit. The next pharmaceutical company I hold is Pfizer. Pfizer is famous for one big drug, that's Viagra, but it actually makes a lot of other things that most people have in their cabinet. Advil, Preparation H, these are also drugs made by Pfizer Corporation. It's a huge company, been around for many years. I have 3 shares of Pfizer, and it's currently giving a dividend yield of 4.19%. All right, let's talk about some different ones now. The next one I have to talk about is a fuel company, ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil, everybody needs fuel for their vehicles, right? It's a pretty solid company. I have 15 shares of ExxonMobil. It's currently paying a dividend yield of 5.16%. Next company I have, Bank of America. This is in the financial sector. Now, banking is always up and down, just like a lot of other things, but they always stick around. And if they don't, look at 2009, they got bailed out. So I have 10 shares of Bank of America, and it shows a little bit more realistic dividend yield currently of 2.72%. All these that we've talked about so far are paid quarterly. The next one I have is Ford Motor Company. I have a Ford pickup truck. Now, Ford's kind of been under the ringer a little bit, and the prices are down. So it makes the dividend yield look a little bit higher than it is. I only have 10 shares of Ford, and it currently has a dividend yield of 6.84%. So, again, seems kind of high. I'm hoping that since Ford this year, they downsized, they're only making one car, they've gone just to crossovers and trucks, which seems to be their mainstay, that they're going to be able to fix this and turn it around. Company Coca-Cola. I don't really need to explain what Coca-Cola is, right? I own 14 shares of Coca-Cola, and they have a dividend yield currently of 2.98%. The next thing I have in consumer staples is Johnson & Johnson. Another boring company. Everybody has Band-Aids. Johnson & Johnson has half of your medicine cabinet. I hold 10 shares of that. It currently has a dividend yield of 2.98%. So roughly in the area we look for, right? I try to look for somewhere in 3 to 4% is a pretty stable dividend yield. Now, Johnson & Johnson and this next company, Procter & Gamble, are both dividend aristocrats, which means they've been upping their dividend over the last 25 years or more. Procter & Gamble, I own 7.09 shares, 7 shares. Currently has a dividend yield of 2.54%. And the last one that I have is a telecom company, and that's AT&T. I hold 31 shares of AT&T, and I currently get a dividend yield of 5.86%, which is up pretty good. Telecom companies seem to give fairly decent yields. You talk about this dividend yield, remember that is the yield percentage for the year. When you actually get your dividend payment each quarter, you got to cut that in fours, right? So if the dividend is $1 per share, for example, then you would get 25 cents on each share each of the 4 quarters that it pays. The last two we're going to talk about, one is actually a stock, and these are REITs. REITs are real estate investment trusts. Now, the thing that's unique to dividends from REITs are because of the way REITs are taxed by the government, they have to pay out 90% of their profits as shares or dividends to their holders. So some REITs pay quarterly, some pay monthly. I do have one monthly paying REIT, and that is AGNC Investment Corporation. That's a monthly paying REIT that deals in mortgage-backed securities. I currently own 5.3 shares of AGNC, and they're paying a return of over 12%. Now, that sounds really high, but again, this is a REIT who's gone down in value and actually lowered earlier in the year the percentage that they pay for their dividend. But I'm still holding on to it on the grounds that I think it's going to turn around, and as I said, I buy and hold. The last one I have is actually not an individual stock, it's an index fund, and that is VGSLX. VGSLX is a Vanguard REIT index, Admiral shares. It has a huge pool of holdings, and for me it's an easier way to get my REITs all in one basket. Simply buy them, it buys and goes. Now, this also pays a quarterly dividend of about 3.98%. But the nice thing about this is you also get appreciation on the fund as well as the dividend that it pays. Now, you guys, I realize we talked about a lot of companies today, and as I said, this is not to tell you these are the companies you should invest in. Anytime you make an investment, you need to do your homework, figure out if it fits into your investing style, make sure it's a company that you can buy and hold long term. Okay, that's for me is the biggest consideration. Is it a company I know? Is it a company I trust? Is it a company I would buy and hold forever? If that's the case for you, dividends can be a good way to go. Also, dividends, even as the market goes down, most companies who are been paying dividends for a long time continue to pay the dividend even though their stock prices are going down. Now, that's not a given, that's not a certainty by any means, but most companies that pay dividends have been around a long time, and they've sailed through the storm of recession multiple times, you guys, so they tend to be a little more stable as companies go. So if you got any value out of this, and I hope you did, give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, ring the bell icon, it gets you notified every time I make more content. I try to make 2 videos a week or more. If you're having fun and you're enjoying it, subscribe to the channel and I'll keep making content. All right, have a great day. Thank you.